Do you hear the crickets outside?
I hear them.
That's my favorite part about living in Minneapolis.
Me too. And seeing the stars from our patio.
Yeah, we should go out there.
Yeah.
I guess my question for you is, what does it feel like being the non-birth mother?
That's a big question and a broad question. I don't know anything else. You know, that feels like when people ask, what does it feel like to be gay? Or what does it feel like to be a woman in business? It's like, well, I don't know anything else. So it feels like how I feel.
But what does it feel like when you see?
It feels like I feel like I'm in a battle. And let me explain what that means. But I feel like, you know, I'm in my very, very early 30s. I came of age at just the absolute best time in my life, meaning you and I started dating, and within a reasonable amount of time, when we started thinking, oh, we want to make this permanent, suddenly gay marriage was legalized, and it felt wonderful to be able to legally get married. And that was something that we hadn't fought for. You know, the people who came before us fought for that and earned that right, and we were the beneficiaries of timing. But we have a legal marriage, and we got to, along with a lot of people in our lives who are also gay, and we came of age at a time where it wasn't it became less of a novelty to go to a same-sex wedding. It still was a novelty, but it was like, I don't know, we went to several same-sex weddings in those few years that we went, that we got married. So, you know, being gay was tough and continues to be tough, in the way that being any identity that's marginalized is. But it wasn't until we started to think about having a family, and then have Dashel, that I've felt like I've been actively fighting. Like when we, when we were trying to get pregnant, when you were trying to get pregnant, I felt invisible. I went to every single doctor's appointment, which included, doctor's appointment is a broad statement for like, you were getting your blood drawn, or like an ultrasound, or an insemination, or, whatever it meant. But I was at every single one, and the medical professionals very rarely made eye contact with me. Definitely very rarely addressed me. I think they were doing their best. I don't begrudge them, and second go around, if we have another kid, I'll be much more bold, but I felt uncomfortable too. So then it just ended up being awkward. I think you were nervous, probably, because you were the one who was trying to get pregnant. So,
it felt like a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, and you can't...
And to make you feel comfortable.
Constantly, yeah, exactly. You can't constantly being like, this is my wife, X, Y, and Z. So there was this element of like invisibility, and then you were pregnant. And we found a great healthcare provider who did include me and like had me on there, but it's just constantly, a battle for validation. Like, am I going to be listed on the birth certificate? Okay, I am. That feels like a huge win. Are people going to recognize my parenthood? We did a second parent adoption, which means you and I have to confront every horrible reality that could exist. A second...
In our relationship.
Exactly.
Not Dashel's.
No, it secures my parenthood to him, but it's about securing it in the face of divorce or death, which is not exactly what like we want to be thinking about when we just had a kid, and that sucks. And it's just constantly like, I know I'm not biologically related to him. I know I was there every step of the way. I know I dreamed him up with you. I know from the moment he was born, I was the one rocking him to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like I personally don't feel insecure in my parenthood, but
That's good.
it's constantly a battle of like, what is the world thinking? And I don't know that I've ever felt, I've been privileged enough to feel secure in being a gay woman up until this point, but being a gay mother has been my first, first like intersection with like truly feeling like an uphill battle. It's something that I need to keep fighting for the families who come after us, the 2 mom families who come after us.
I wonder though if as he gets older, when I think some of the more kind of birth mother dynamics are just naturally kind of like the wind wears them away.
Yeah.
And he's just part of our family. I wonder if that will, I think time is on our side here.
I hope so, except that I think it depends so much on environment.
But I think we've done everything we can do.
Of course. But if he is a unicorn, if he is the only kid with 2 moms, the questions inevitably follow him. Who's your quote unquote real mom? How were you born?
Yeah.
But we don't. We live in the inner city. I don't think he'll be the only kid with 2 moms, and I hope that those things won't happen. But that's when those questions get asked. Those questions, the implication is my parenthood, not yours.
Is that question? Yeah.
So when the original question that you asked was, what does it feel like to be the non-birth mother? This is what it feels like, is a lifetime of, well, is that really your parent? No matter what they ask, like who's the donor, who's the dad, who gave birth to you? The root of all of those questions is which mother is not real, is not connected. And that's like my greatest fear. So I'm sure there's some projection on myself, but that's what it feels like, is an insecurity in connection to my son. And he's my son by every definition. But there's a fear, or there's an insecurity, or there's whatever you want to call it.
And does that make you want to bear the second child?
I don't know.
Like to squelch that fear?
No, because that would imply that I would be acknowledging that I'm not Dashiell's full mother, which is not the case.
Yeah, you're absolutely
right.
Some days I'm like, take him, he's yours.
Right. No, that's not it, because I think that would just be acknowledging that some validity in their argument. Instead, it makes me want to fight more and be confident in my answers
and be who we are.
Right. I think visibility and representation is so important. And when people ask questions that are inappropriate, I want to be confident in saying that's not appropriate to ask. And I want to teach Dashiell to be really confident in his family.
And I think we have to be confident,
right,
in our family.
And in the same regard that I look at you and I say, you are my wife. Our marriage is valid. And we have the full legal definition, we have the full definition of the law behind us in the same way that our heterosexual counterparts do. I want to have that same strength and fortitude and how we speak about our family. And it's just, it feels like we have to fight a little bit more. That's not a bad thing, because
it's also uncharted territory.
Exactly.
The law views it more as uncharted territory.
Right. We've got to pave the way a little bit. And I think it's scary and it's vulnerable, but people did it before us, and it's our obligation to do it for the generations to come. It's
interesting though, like when you step back from the legal side of things and just look at our life.
Yeah.
And there is not even an ounce of, I don't, it's hard for me to put myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
Because I'm so close to the situation, obviously. But secondly, we are so much a family.
Right.
And we are so much his parents.
Yeah.
And you are his parent. And he knows that.
It's
and
hard
I know
for
that.
you
And you know that.
to understand this vulnerability. Or not understand, but it's hard for you to...
It's hard for me. It's not hard for me to understand the vulnerability from a societal standpoint. Yeah. It's hard for me to understand the vulnerability from, like, the walls of our home.
Right.
Like, our home is our home, and he is our child, and we are his parents.
I agree. I don't feel any. Like, I feel like we are a unit under this roof.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's almost like a math equation. It's like you plus me plus Dashiell equals our family.
Right.
And no matter how you arrange the equation,
that's the way it is.
We
all belong to each other.
One side equals the other side.
Yeah,
no matter how you put it. It's some days it's like me plus family equals you plus Dashiell. And that's fine. And that's like how the equation works that day. Yeah. And I think that's how I think of our life almost. Like it is that equation. And it's hard for me to sometimes think beyond that because we're so involved in
I think
that.
Oh, excuse me. It's the first time we have ever been separate or we've had separate experiences. Like we got married together. We were both women marrying other women. And this is the first time where it's like, you're giving birth. Everyone recognizes you as the birth mother. And like, this isn't wrong. Nobody did anything bad. But it's just like the first time that you and I, in our many, many years of relationship, you know, we usually traveled these paths together. And it's like, this is the first time that these paths are different. Like, you got pregnant. You carried him. I did not. You gave birth to him. I did not. You are recognized as his birth mother, and I am not. And there's no reconciling that. That's just the reality. And so all we can do is show up every day and recognize that visibility matters and conveying full confidence in our family matters. And I think it'll change lives, like not to be dramatic, but I think about us going on walks in our neighborhood and them saying 2 moms and a baby, and every day, day in and day out, we're taking Dashiell on a walk, and people very quickly recognize like we are his 2 moms. And if they had never been exposed to that previously, I don't know what they would have thought, but we have to keep showing up in life.